Well, I'm very pleased to bring into the podcast this week. It is the excellent, undefeated welterweight contender, Vergil Ortiz Jr. Vergil, welcome to the show, and thank you very much for doing this today.
Hey, thanks for having me on, man. It's nice seeing you again.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. We're here to talk about, you've got a very important fight. Let's just say it's been a long time coming, right? You're going to challenge the WBA regular welterweight champion, Imanta Stanionis. It is on July 8th on DAZN. From the AT&T Center in San Antonio, not too far from your stomping grounds in the Dallas area. A little bit of a hometown crowd for you, I assume, will be on hand. The first thing I'd like to know, as I mentioned, this fight's a long time coming. This fight was supposed to be on March 18th, postponed because Stanionis suffered, needed an appendectomy, an emergency appendectomy, so the fight was postponed. Then when it was rescheduled, of course, not that it's everybody knows at this point, you had a relapse of rhabdo, the blood disorder that was giving you problems, had to be postponed again, and now here we are. Can you just tell me just about your general thoughts about having to put off this significant fight, multiple times? I mean, it's a big fight for both of you guys.
Yeah, it's a huge fight for both of us, and my thoughts on that is just. At the end of the day, I'm glad it's still happening. It is a fight that I wanted to happen. It was an opportunity that I wanted to pass up. I could have taken a kind of like a stay busy, get back better fight. But I was going to lose the opportunity to fight for this belt, to fight against Stanionis, and I really wanted to and still want to fight against him. So, they wanted me to take another month off, but I was like, you know what? I'm ready. I'm ready now. I feel it in my bones, like I'm ready. So let's do it, and that's where we're at right now.
So because of the postponements and everything that's happened, you haven't fought since last August. He's going to be coming off a fight. He hasn't had a fight since April of last year, and you fought 4 times in 2019. Still on the rise at that point, knocking everybody out. And since 2019, you've had a total of 4 fights. So it's obviously been a much slower schedule for you. Can you kind of just verbalize if there is frustration about the lack of activity, the postponements, and just trying to be able to gain some momentum? Because every time you do fight, you scored a knockout, you usually look great doing it, and then it's a long wait till the next fight.
Yeah, of course. So it's the lack of activity. It's frustrating. I get this training in and get the win. I have momentum behind me. Just for me to lose the momentum and not fight again the next year, and in 12 months, it's real frustrating. But we're trying to make the most out of everything. We're overcoming every obstacle, and hopefully after this fight, we can change that again, and we can get the same ball rolling again.
So I must ask, how is your health now after all the issues?
My health is great. It's honestly 100% right now.
Well, I'm really glad to hear that, because the first thing, you got to take care of yourself. As far as being a boxer is tough enough, but if you're not healthy going into the fight, you're doomed. I saw some comments or heard some comments from you where your issue in this relapse with rhabdo was due to you having long COVID, and it not it impacting your immune system or whatever the issue was, and was making this sort of exacerbating this problem that had occurred once before. Are you over long COVID, or do you still have symptoms of it? Do you have to do anything different as far as, altering your training and, to make sure it doesn't happen again? Like, what have they told you about that, and how do you deal with it?
So I'll tell you, how I felt, after COVID. So my first fight after COVID was Samuel Vargas. Mm-hmm. And if you pay attention to the post-fight interview or whatever, the interview probably happened 5 minutes after the fight ended or whatever. I was huffing and puffing. I literally could not talk, and because I was trying to breathe, I could not breathe. And ever since that happened, notice in my training, I was getting tired. In the first, second round, it was a struggle. And leading up to the other fight, Hooker, I got COVID again, literally a month before the Hooker fight. Maybe 2-3 weeks before. I had to train like that. Literally thought I was gonna die.
Oh boy!
I'm not exaggerating. Yeah, I'm not exaggerating.
But just so if I'm clear, you don't realize at this point that it's what they term long COVID.
No.
Okay. So now you have the Maurice Hooker fight. Again, he looked great in that fight, scored a knockout in the 7th round.
Yeah, but to be honest, I didn't feel that strong in that fight. Even in my last sparring, they really didn't want me to fight. And I was just like, man, like I just went through all this shit. I just had COVID. I just sparred during COVID. I just trained. I didn't look horrible in sparring. I'm always gonna keep some kind of technical ability in there. Because I do what I do. But I wasn't 100%. I wasn't 90, 80. I was probably like a good 60. I would say. But I knew that I still had it in me to win. And, I won against Maurice Hooker without my power being there. Maurice isn't that big, but I feel like I was not moving him the way I should have. I felt like I should have got him out of there and maybe like in the 4th, probably, if I'm being honest. But, then we got the Mean Machine fight. I don't think I looked too bad in the Mean Machine fight. But it was just a long time coming that my body was just not recovering after that. No, I wasn't giving it time to recover because my body wasn't the same, and I didn't know that yet.
So how did you then find out that in fact it was long COVID, or attributed to the COVID that you had previously?
So I always had my suspicions, but I'm not a doctor.
Right.
I've always had my suspicions. I knew something was up with my body because no one really knows my body better than me. I know I'm feeling 100% of the time. Me being a boxer, I'm not going to complain. So my coaches sometimes they don't know when I'm not 100% because that's my job, not to show weakness, But recently we had to go to Fresno and visit Dr. Bautista, the doctor that's been helping me throughout this whole recovery process. And he said, yeah, it's due to long COVID. And I told him about it. And when I told him my stories and my experiences, he confirmed it. I'm like, yeah, that's 100% what it is. So that's how we came down to that diagnosis.
All right. So after you had beaten Mean Machine, Kavaliauskas, you were supposed to have the McKinson fight. That was postponed because of your first incident with Rabdo. And then you got it rescheduled. I guess you felt better, and you went into the McKinson fight finally in August of last year. When you had that fight, did you feel like you would overcome the long COVID, or was that giving you problems yet again, like you mentioned it was for the Vargas, Hooker, and Mean Machine fights?
So I definitely didn't feel strong that fight. I feel like that was the worst I had ever went into a fight. I think that was the first fight where I was sitting in the midst in the locker room, and there was no explosion. I was just like, oh, damn, And then my hats off to McKinson. He was a good fighter. I feel like I'm lucky that it was against him because he's not a power puncher. He's not a relentless fighter like that. So I feel like I kind of got lucky that it wasn't someone else,
Well, I'm looking at the roster of the fights that we've talked about. Samuel Vargas has been maybe not a world champion, but he's been a pretty decent contender and fought a lot of good opponents. Maurice Hooker is obviously a very reputable fighter. He was a former world champion. Kavaliauskas, an Olympian. Dave Crawford, one of his toughest fights, been in the ring with a lot of good guys, a good welterweight contender. McKinson, like you mentioned, maybe not the strongest guy out there, but he was undefeated when you fought him. So you're telling me basically you're beating solid quality opponents, if not necessarily champions, but you're beating good guys by knockout, by the way, in dominating fashion in terms of what the scorecards were reading at the time that you scored the knockout, and you're fighting them at 60%. What does that say about the type of fighter that you are, and just the threshold you have for dealing with these types of things?
Yeah, I mean, I just once I put my mind to something, and I know I can do it. I don't want to make myself big-headed, but if I'm put in a situation where I need to show myself, or to everyone else, but mostly to myself, that I can do something, then I'm going to do it.
Okay. Now, Stanionis, with all due respect to the other fighters that I just mentioned, my opinion is that he would be on a higher level, a better grade of opponent, also undefeated, also was an Olympian, had that very grueling victory against Batayev to get this title. What is your take on Stanionis and what he brings to the table? He showed a lot of heart, a lot of resilience when he won the belt against Batayev in his last fight, and had that decorated amateur career. So I'm sure you've taken a look at him. Give me your thoughts about your opponent that you're going to face.
No, he's definitely a guy that I've had my eye on. I think that he's a kind of fighter that brings it. He's just one of those fighters that the fans love to watch, and it's clear why. He's a relentless fighter, and he can be dangerous too.
So when I look at this fight, I mean, we know that the Terrence Crawford fight with Spence is coming up at the end of July. They're sort of like the generation right before you, I guess, with Keith Thurman and Danny Garcia, Sean Porter, even Andre Berto, Lamont Peterson, a lot of good fighters in there. I feel like you guys are maybe that what's kicking off the next era of welterweight boxing. Do you feel like that is the case? That you guys are the ones that are going to lead the way into this next group of 147 pounders?
I believe so. We're like the kind of like the new class. You know how there's high school classes. We're like the new class coming up, and we're going to be ruling for a while too.
Very good. I just want to wrap it up with this, Vergil. I appreciate you doing this. How do you think the fight goes, and is it at all important for you to extend your knockout streak? You are 19-0 with 19 knockouts. You've knocked every man out that you faced. So how do you think this one goes? And I know you think you're going to win, but do you think you also extend that knockout record, I guess?
He's a tough fighter, so I'm not going to say that I am going to knock him out because I truly don't know. He's a tough fighter. Will I take the opportunity if I see it? Of course, as everyone else will. So really, I can't. This isn't even me trying to be humble. This is just a tough fight.
Yeah.
I truly don't know.
Well, I'll be very interested to watch it. I think that's one of the reasons why it is a fascinating fight because nobody really knows. I mean, sometimes you have a real feeling, you think you know, but you guys have both shown you can do a lot of different things in that ring. So all I can say is best of luck to you. And I know many, many boxing fans are very anxious and excited to watch this one, and especially after the delay. So I'm glad it's back on, and I wish you the best of luck, Vergil. Thank you very much for doing this.
All right, thank you.
You bet.